I took the blame for a shipment delay my manager caused. He said, "That's what good soldiers do, fall quietly." My pay was docked. My name was dragged. So I quietly printed every email he'd sent with racial slurs and filed them twice. First with HR, then with the press. The last email they'll read before the headline drops starts with, "I used to believe that being quiet and doing my job was enough. Just show up, do the work, and stay out of office politics. I'm not the loud type. I don't push back much. I always thought if you kept your head down and stayed steady, things would fall into place. People would notice that you were reliable, that you weren't trouble." But I was wrong. My manager, Roger, was the kind of person who noticed who stayed quiet. He watched for it, and he used it. I worked in logistics at a mid-sized manufacturing company in the Midwest. Not a big name, not a startup, just a solid company with contracts and warehouses. My role was shipping coordination. I handled schedules, customs paperwork, vendor communication, routing changes. Everything that moved, I tracked. I was good at it. I liked the structure. I didn't talk much in meetings, but I hit every deadline. Roger was a mid-level manager who'd been with the company forever. He wasn't sharp, but he played the game. He made jokes in meetings. The higher-ups liked that. He called himself a people person, but the truth is he was only good to the people above him. Anyone below him was just a name to blame. The first time it happened was over a delayed shipment to a major client. It was a six-figure order that had to clear customs in time. It didn't. The delay was tied to missing customs forms. Roger was the one responsible for sending those forms. That task had always been under his access level, not mine. But when the VP asked what happened, Roger said, without any hesitation, it was Jamal. He forgot to file the documents. I didn't even know he had said it until I was brought into a conference room the next day. I sat across from Roger and one of the directors. There was a paper already printed with my name at the top, performance concern notice. They didn't ask me a single question, just handed it to me and said they were very disappointed. Roger sat there nodding like it was all routine. When I opened my mouth to say it wasn't me, Roger said, "That's what good soldiers do. They fall quietly." I signed it. I don't know why. I think I froze. Or maybe I just didn't want to fight right then. It was humiliating. I walked out of that room, and I knew I had just taken the hit for someone else's mistake. 2 weeks later, my bonus was cut. Not removed, just slashed down so low it didn't feel like a bonus at all. I could hear the whispers from the rest of the floor. "Did you hear about Jamal dropping the shipment?" Must have been serious if they docked his pay. No one asked me what happened. That was the moment it started. I kept going to work. I kept doing the same job, but something in me changed. I started remembering all the little things Roger used to say, not just to me, but around everyone. There was the time he saw one of the warehouse guys who was Vietnamese and said, "Careful with that one. ESL guys always mix up the load slips," and laughed. Or when he made a joke about a driver being late because they're probably still doing black people time, everyone was too uncomfortable to respond, so they just let it slide. Then the emails, they had always been there. He liked to send memes and jokes to the team. I hadn't thought about them much before, just rolled my eyes and deleted them. But now I remembered. The one with 3 black kids in mugshots and the subject line "Future Felons of the Quarter." The forwarded joke about Spanish-speaking workers getting lost in translation. The memes calling our women co-workers diversity hires. That night, I bought a home printer. Every time Roger sent something like that, I printed it. I didn't respond. I didn't confront him. I didn't report it yet. I just printed. Some days, I'd only print 1 page. Some days 5 or 6. I used a manila folder and kept it in the bottom drawer of my desk at home. Sometimes he'd say things to me directly. Passive stuff, like, "You know how this place works. Guys like you don't make it to the top, so don't stress too much." Or, "You're lucky I cover for you more than I should." He once pulled me aside and said, "You need to smile more. People are getting scared of you." I hadn't raised my voice once in 3 years. HR was a joke. I knew that. Everyone knew that. They were all friendly with Roger. I'd seen them laugh at his dumb stories in the break room. I knew if I went to them with one email or one off-color comment, nothing would happen. I had to wait. So I did. A full year. During that year, he blamed me again. Smaller things. Missing inventory counts. Late driver handoffs. Always little things that didn't get me fired, but made me look bad. I knew what he was doing. He was breaking me down slow. Then came the second shipment mistake. Another customs form. Another delay. Same client. This time, Roger looked at me before the meeting and said, "You know how this goes?" I just nodded. I didn't say a word. That night, I printed everything again. This time, I made 2 full copies. Each was 94 pages. I organized it by date, highlighted the worst stuff, labeled who was CC'd. I wrote a 1-page cover letter explaining the pattern. 1 copy went to HR. I dropped it off in person to their department head's assistant. I didn't say much, just handed it over. The other copy I mailed to a journalist I knew from college. We hadn't spoken in years, but I remembered she covered workplace discrimination stories now. I looked up her email. Then I mailed the packet to her editor with a note saying, "You'll want to verify this." I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks. Nothing from HR. Nothing from my friend. But I saw Roger get called into a closed-door meeting on a Friday. He came out looking pale. That weekend, I saw his LinkedIn page go private. The following Monday, his office was cleared out. But I didn't celebrate yet. I knew what was coming. The article dropped 5 days later. Front page of the region's top business journal. Mid-state manufacturing manager under fire for pattern of racist conduct and targeted harassment. His name was in bold. They quoted direct lines from his emails. They didn't name me, but people figured it out. When HR finally called me back, their tone was completely different. But I wasn't there for their apology. I still had one more thing to print. The last email Roger ever sent, just 2 days before everything collapsed, read, "Between you and me, these people don't understand how the world works. You give them 1 inch, they ask for HR." He signed it with his full name, his title, his signature block. That was the last thing I added to the folder. I'm not done yet. After the article dropped, things didn't calm down. They got worse, just in a different way. The morning the article hit, I walked into work like usual. I didn't expect applause, but I also didn't expect the silence. No one looked at me, not even the people who used to make small talk near the vending machines. It was like I'd become radioactive. I thought maybe they didn't know it was me, but I'm not stupid. The article quoted emails that only someone close to Roger would have had access to. Only a few people on the team knew the old memes he sent, and most of them had deleted those messages without thinking. I hadn't. By lunch, I got my answer. One of the warehouse guys I trusted, Luis, walked past me without saying a word. This was someone who once invited me to his kid's birthday. I followed him out back by the loading dock. I asked if everything was okay. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "You really sent that stuff to the press?" I didn't say yes. I didn't have to. He nodded and said, "You should watch your back." After that, I started getting messages from unknown numbers. "Snitch. Hope it was worth it." HR puppet. I changed my number. Then I started getting emails. Someone made a fake Gmail and sent me one of the same memes Roger had forwarded a year ago with the subject line, "Miss him yet?" I brought it to HR. They said, "We're investigating." That's all they ever said. But it wasn't just Roger's old buddies. A few of the higher-ups were mad, too. I could feel it in the way meetings shifted. I stopped getting copied on key decisions. My name was left off of client emails. A promotion I was up for went quiet. When I asked about it, they said they had paused hiring in that department. Then I saw them post the role externally a week later. I asked to transfer to a different division. I figured I could at least start fresh in a new branch. But my request was denied. No explanation. I started to feel watched. Not officially, just eyes in the break room, near the freight door, even in the bathroom. One afternoon, I found my office chair broken in half. It had been fine when I left for lunch. No cameras covered that corner. HR said they'd look into it. Nothing happened. It was like they were trying to make me leave, quietly, like Roger wanted. But I didn't leave. Not yet. Instead, I made copies of everything. Not just emails now, documents from HR, meeting notes, access logs, even screenshots of team group chats where they joked about who'd be next to go woke. Then, one morning, I walked into the supply closet and found a thick folder with my name written on the front in Sharpie. Inside were printouts of my old work reports, highlighted mistakes. Most were minor, and all of them had been fixed months ago. But someone had been digging, trying to build a case. There was a sticky note on the front, "Nobody's perfect. HR might agree." That's when I realized Roger was gone, but the rot wasn't. It wasn't just him. It was the whole structure that let him do it for years. And they were scared now, not of what he did, but of what I still had. They thought I was finished. They were wrong. I thought I had exposed the worst of it. I thought removing Roger was the big win. That maybe now I'd just have to wait it out and things would settle. But 2 weeks after I found that Sharp-labeled folder in the supply closet, I got called into a meeting. Not with HR, with a third-party investigator. Apparently, the company had hired a law firm to conduct a neutral internal review after the article blew up. They said it was for PR. I knew better. They were looking for a way to cover themselves legally. The woman they brought in, Allison Burke, didn't pretend to be friendly. She sat across from me with a recorder on the table and said, "This is being documented." I told her everything. I even brought a copy of the folder I'd received in the supply closet. She didn't touch it, just looked at it and said, "We'll log that." 2 days later, I saw her walking out of the building with a thick binder, my binder, the one I had given to HR weeks earlier. I saw one of the admin girls hand it over to her, the same admin who once said she was so proud of me for speaking up. I stopped trusting everyone. Then, out of nowhere, the journalist I had originally mailed the packet to reached out. Her message was short. "I need to tell you something. It didn't come from HR. I got the documents from someone else inside your company." That didn't make sense. I sent the physical packet myself. I mailed it. She called me that night and explained. Her editor had received a full digital copy of the emails weeks before my physical packet even arrived. And the sender? It was anonymous. No name. Just an internal IP address linked to my company. That's when it hit me. Someone else had been collecting dirt on Roger. Maybe longer than me. Maybe deeper. But they didn't want to come forward. So, when I did, they used me. I wasn't just the whistleblower. I was the shield. The perfect scapegoat. The quiet guy who wouldn't talk too much or ask too many questions. The guy who could be burned if things got messy. Suddenly, a lot of things made more sense. Why the whispers started before the article even dropped. Why HR had a binder ready for the investigator without ever calling me back. Why my office access logs were flagged days before I submitted anything. They were already preparing for fallout. They knew it was coming, and they knew it would land on me. I went back through my email access logs from the IT portal. I had a contact there. Someone I helped when their shipment system broke down last year. Quiet guy like me. He told me, "Someone accessed your inbox," a week before the article. I asked who. He just said, "Higher than me." So now I knew. Someone up top had seen the article coming and decided to hang me out to dry before it dropped. They fed the journalists the emails, probably to shape the story, to control the damage. And they let me think it was all mine. They didn't expect me to keep digging. They thought I'd take the fall like a good soldier. Roger's words still echoed in my head, but I wasn't falling this time. Not quietly. After that call with the journalist, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I started going through everything with new eyes, not just the emails and notes, but things I hadn't thought about before, like the fact that the binder I gave to HR had a paperclip I had bent by accident. When I saw it again on the admin's desk, the clip was straight. It wasn't the same binder. It was a copy. They had taken what I gave and made a cleaner version, probably stripped out the worst parts. I remembered one email where Roger had forwarded a news story about police brutality with a subject line that said, "Play stupid games." I didn't see that quoted anywhere in the article. It was one of the most disgusting ones. They cut it. I felt sick. They were trying to make it look like they acted fast, like they had caught it early, like they cared. But really, they were covering their own tracks, sanitizing the damage before it hit the press. I checked the metadata on the files I had emailed myself for backup. I caught something. One of the PDF exports had a timestamp 2 days before I printed it. That meant someone else had access to my saved documents folder, or HR had been snooping in my files. I went back to the IT guy. He told me, quietly, that 2 people in senior leadership had file access rights to my shared drive. One was the director who sat in on the first meeting with Roger. The other? Someone I'd never met. The VP of Risk and Compliance. That wasn't a coincidence. They weren't just protecting Roger. They were protecting the company. From lawsuits, from stock issues, from bad PR. And to do that, they needed a controlled story. A scapegoat they could support just enough to look ethical, but isolate when it started to cost them. And that scapegoat was me. Then something else happened. The journalist messaged me again. This time, she sent me a screenshot of an internal company Slack conversation she'd been forwarded anonymously. In it, 2 executives were joking about how many diversity hires would need to cry on LinkedIn before this thing finally dies down. It was recent, weeks after the article dropped. She asked if I wanted to go on record, not just anonymous, not just an employee, but with my name. I didn't answer right away. I stared at the screen for a long time. I thought about my dad, who told me growing up to never complain at work, to just work harder than everyone else. I thought about how tired I felt every morning, walking through those double glass doors and pretending nothing was wrong. I thought about how small they made me feel, even now, even after everything. Then I replied, "Yes, let's talk." I knew it would be a risk, but I had something they didn't know I had. A second binder. The one with everything I didn't send to HR. The one I kept in a sealed box under my bed. The second binder was never meant to be used. It was my insurance. It had the worst stuff. Things I didn't include in the first version because I thought it would be too much. Too risky. Things that might have made me look like I was out for blood instead of just telling the truth. But after what they did, cutting pieces of my file, leaking my emails, pushing me to take the fall, I decided they didn't deserve the benefit of the doubt anymore. I met with the journalist in person this time. We sat in a public library. I brought the sealed box with the second binder. She opened it slowly. No words. Just flipped through the pages. There were things in there that would have destroyed Roger even faster. Comments he'd written in internal feedback forums like, "Jamal's articulate almost surprisingly so," or a text message he sent to another manager saying, "Black dudes like him are only useful when they keep quiet." I had screenshots, time-stamped. There was also proof of what came after. The harassment, the broken chair, the messages I got from burner emails, and the Slack screenshot she had been sent. I found the original. It was still stored in our archive channels. I had it all. She asked again if I was sure I wanted to be named. I said yes. The new article dropped 3 weeks later. This one had a title no one could look away from. They called him a good soldier. Then they tried to bury him. It had everything. My full name, my position, direct quotes from the emails, the Slack messages, the cover-up by HR, even the names of the 2 executives who accessed my files without consent. The journalist didn't hold back. Within a day, it was on 3 national outlets. By the end of the week, the company was trending for all the wrong reasons. I was still working there when it broke. I walked in Monday morning to find my badge had been deactivated. Security had a printed notice that said, "Leave of absence pending investigation." No one looked me in the eye. One guy whispered sorry as I passed. That was it. I went home. Waited. 2 days later, I got an email from the VP of Legal Affairs. She said she wanted to speak. I ignored it. Then came the letter from their lawyer. They were offering a settlement, 6 months' pay, NDA, no lawsuit, no public statements. I laughed when I read it. I sent a single reply, "My lawyer will be in touch." I didn't have a lawyer yet, but I got one, a good one who specialized in retaliation and whistleblower cases. He saw the binder. He didn't blink. Said, "They'll settle. They'll offer more. But we can push." And we did. 6 months became 12. 12 became 2 years full pay. Then full benefits. Then a written apology. Then, most important to me, a clause that forced them to make all future HR reviews fully auditable by outside counsel for 3 years. Every complaint, every file, every good soldier they thought they could quietly silence. Roger was never seen again in the industry. He was blacklisted, tried to sue for wrongful termination. Failed. One of the documents I saved had his digital signature approving a training document that mocked diversity hires in code that ended his case before it even started. The director who sat in on my first meeting resigned. So did the risk and compliance VP. Both had glowing goodbye emails from the CEO, but the article had already shown what they did. No company wanted to touch them after that. The admin who handed over the fake binder? She messaged me once, said she didn't know what she was part of. I didn't respond. I don't believe she was innocent. As for me, I didn't take the payout. Not yet. I let my lawyer push for something else. A formal agreement that let me leave with full back pay and keep speaking. No gag order. No silence. I told them, I'm not falling quietly again. I took time off, got therapy, started doing panels for workplace ethics groups. The story spread. Sometimes people still ask why I didn't quit sooner. The answer's simple. Because they thought I would. They thought I'd do what Roger told me to do. Fall quietly. Instead, I stood up loud and steady and made sure the last thing they ever heard before the headline dropped was the sound of every printed email landing on the desk they used to sit at, one by one, page by page, until they had no place left to hide.